Welcome to the Echo Essentials podcast.
I'm Dave Dale.
And I'm Scott Clark. Today is a bit of a history lesson for the Kennedy Fall Fellowship. We're going to hear from Tony Limina and Peter Rooney, and they're going to take us back to, probably the 20s?
Yeah.
You read the book, right?
What they were talking about is that it really started in the mid-50s before it officially got off the ground after Mr. Kennedy passed away.
Mm-hmm. But that name, so we know it well from WKP Kennedy Gallery. And, the Kennedy family is like a founding family here. And this get-together that they have for the last 62 years has been an integral part of, what happens in our community, how people get together, engage. Then what do we know that has run for 62 consecutive years, or a group that stayed together for 62 consecutive years? It doesn't happen all the time.
No, it's very rare. And from what the conversation goes, it's more than just a weekend drunk.
Yeah, it really is. And because I've been a few times, and you get invited by Tony, which is really interesting.
That's an honor.
It is an honor.
Yes.
Because I think you have to be invited. I don't know.
It'd be impolite of me not to accept his gracious invite.
Tell me something about you for a second. You seem to really dig in and love like the history of North Bay. Like that seems to really float your boat. And, your magazine, Small Town Times and Back in the Bay is, that's what it's at its crux is about, looking back and acknowledging, our past here in a community. What is that passion? Where does that passion come from?
My exposure to senior people in all the communities I've been to has been enlightening. I seem to have an affinity for the people that care about a community and that have the experience and been there, and I love listening to their stories. And I think it's important that we listen to their stories. I think their stories tell us stuff that we won't get elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So just being with people who have the experience and some of the wisdom that goes along with it has always been beneficial for my life, so I figure everybody else's too.
I think how I changed my opinion as I've gotten older is really been my work I've done with Nipissing First Nation, the Anishinaabe Nation. And then when you go to events, they often, almost every event, they bring an elder to that event and how it's opened, how it's, what happens within an event. And it's, when I look at it, I go, wow, I think white people have it wrong. Like, elders are important, and you listen to the elder, they have the knowledge of the past, and, they can see, what's happening in a room. And I don't believe we've had that same kind of culture with the respect of elders and how we look after them.
Well, I think what's kind of happened with the colonization of North America for our relatives, the WASPs, right? Where we have become split up and fractured families. So we don't, in our quest to give every one of our children the best possible opportunities and to have them go out and find their way in the world, is we end up losing family structure, right? A little bit. I think that's what we have lost. All the strong cultures, all the talk about the Indigenous people and their respect for elders. Every other strong cultural society had respect for their elders. Every one of them, right? And that was a key part of their community. I think we have lost that a bit. We've kind of shunted them off to live their golden years away from us and instead of with us. And so it's only special occasions that we get together. I think it's sort of not necessarily the best way to go about it.
Mm-hmm. And I would think, too, just in the time we're in, right, because it's always a snapshot of time that we live, the time we're in today, because of technology moving so fast, that even like you and I, for instance, we're both 59, and I'm sure young people are like, these dudes are out of touch. They can't use the technology as fast as we can. We can, move faster, so they don't have the same level of respect because we can't, in that particular vertical, we can't move as fast as they can. And I don't know if it was always like that.
Well, I think the delivery mechanism for the stories was different. And I think also with the new technology, we've changed our DNA and ability to focus in on things for any length of time. I used to spend a lot of time by myself reading Reader's Digest, National Geographic, encyclopedias, uninterrupted consumption of what was being delivered as far as history goes. I'll tell you this: my son just went through a shoulder operation, right? And so he has been busy doing his life. He lives elsewhere. He's a fitness trainer and he's a coach for fighters. I don't really see a lot of his activity on Facebook, right? But in his downtime, recovering from the operation last night, I see through his likes that he's going through all the stuff I've been doing, right? And he's probably I can't really speak for him, noticing that I'm living and I'm showing and I'm telling stories on this social media, but he has to come find it. Right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yes.
So I love these stories that we're about to hear, and let's get to it because these two gentlemen deserve our respect and our time, so they can tell some stories and we can learn from it as well.
I have one thing from last night's city council meeting.
Oh yeah,
and this will be a bit of the talk of the town, not a little bit, but Mayor Peter Chirico suspended the rules and decided to be the one that names the Senior of the Year for the city of North Bay, and he named a worthy recipient, and Harriet Madigan. But it was a little strange that it was a committee of one, and even when she accepted it, she said, "Very interesting to be selected by a committee of one, Peter. Thank you."
That's what she said?
I don't know. It was a little funky. So you might hear a little chatter.
Wait a second. I don't know if I even know this. So what council traditionally selects a citizen of the year?
The city.
The city does?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
I didn't either.
Oh, okay.
I haven't paid attention. But last night at the
meeting, you
meeting,
usually know all that stuff.
It was very interesting. It came and it was named. But today on social media, I noticed a few people commenting, and a couple sent me messages, and they're like,
"So is the mayor allowed to suspend, or does the mayor have to have council's approval to suspend?"
It happened.
Look at the smile on your face. This is. So it'll be interesting to see. Anything else? Anything with Tanya in our last interview with Tanya?
No, I didn't see any sort of really big stuff, but I did find out that Tanya's didn't get the information she's looking for yet, and she's continuing her attempts to get it, and I think she's going to go straight to Ski Hill people, get it directly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So that all very fascinating. Mm-hmm. Well, let's get to our Kennedy Fall Fellowship interview, and we'll be back with that right after this. North Bay Echo is proud to partner with Twigg's Coffee Roasters, a part of our community since 1995. What's the math on that, Dave? Is that their 30th anniversary next year?
Yes.
Oh, my. Okay. That's incredible. 30 years. Jen still looks like a teenager. Twiggs offers a wide selection of quality beans, fresh roasted in-house every single day. Do you smell it when they're roasting?
Oh, I work right down the road from them, and we could smell it, that and the bagels. Oh, yeah, it was great.
Find your favorite special drinks at their espresso bar. Rejuvenate with freshly squeezed juice, or treat yourself to mouth-watering selections from their gourmet deli. And don't forget their irresistible fresh baked goods. Have you had one of their cinnamon rolls?
Yes, I have, but my favorite was putting a bun in with their soup of the day. That's what I used to get all the time.
It is a good bun. Mm-hmm. I like the bun. They also have gluten-free options. My daughter's always gluten-free stuff. Twiggs have 5 locations to serve you, not just North Bay, but also Sturgeon Falls and Sudbury as well. You could also order online at twigs.ca. And coming soon, you'll be able to order fresh roasted coffee beans direct to your doorstep from their distribution center here in North Bay. Twiggs, thanks for partnering with the North Bay Echo Network.
This weekend, make your way to Casey's Restaurant in North Bay for an unforgettable get-together. Dive into our delicious appetizers and enjoy the best drafts in town. It's the perfect spot to unwind, catch up with friends, and savor great flavors. Don't miss out on the fun. Join us at Casey's for a weekend filled with good food, great drinks, and even better company.
This is a special edition because we're welcoming two incredible gentlemen that have been part of the Kennedy Fall Fellowship for 2 or 3 years.
I think we have to do a fact check on that.
Okay, maybe it's more. I have to go back and look. Joining us in the studios, Peter Rooney and Tony Limina, both formerly of Kennedy Insurance.
Correct.
Right? You're both retired now.
Yeah.
But the Kennedy Fall Fellowship continues. So when I talk to people and I say, hey, you ever heard of the Kennedy Fall Fellowship? Either people really know it or have never actually heard about it before. So who do I pose this question to? What is the Kennedy Fall Fellowship? Peter.
Well, it's a group of basically North Bay businessmen that get together for fellowship, which includes tall tales and cards, maybe a little bit of fishing. And it's been going on for 62 years formally. It's been started way before that in the 50s when Mr. Kennedy, who happens to be my grandfather, started the event, which has become a tradition. And he would invite business associates over to a weekend at the French River. And
that at that time, it was the Keystone Lodge, right?
Keystone Lodge.
And wasn't it owned by the Kennedy family or the Kennedy?
His son owned it.
His son owned it.
Yeah.
And so this was a way to boost business, I guess, at the end of the season.
Or clean up supplies, Peter.
But the fellows would board the Chief Commando 1 on a Friday night.
The one that's dry docked.
Dry dock,
right?
now a restaurant.
Okay, the restaurant.
And they would head over to Keystone Lodge, spend the weekend, and then come back on a Sunday. And that happened for a number of years. I'm not sure exactly when it started, in the 50s.
55, Peter.
55?
1955, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't born then. And it continued, and then in 1961, in one of these weekends...
Just before he goes there, though,
Yeah.
it's important that we talk about what happened between 1955 and 61. And I didn't realize this until I put together this chronological history. But basically, the members of the people that were there in the 50s, in the mid-50s, asked your grandfather to put together a chronological history of North Bay. And that's why the book North Bay came out.
Oh, okay.
And it was as a result of that meeting, of him having all of his friends there and business associates, they empowered him to do it. And he took on the task, it took quite a while to get that done.
Okay. And so wait a second, through the Kennedy Fall Fellowship, it was like, hey, Mr. Kennedy, we want you to put this book together.
Right.
And so I'm going to get basically all these people that would be part of the history of North Bay to
Exactly.
get that information.
Exactly.
That's actually really cool.
It'd be harder to find facts at that time, too. You don't
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. You weren't going. Yeah. You're not Googling anything back then.
No. So, in 1961, they were dedicating a plaque in Mr. Kennedy's honor because they named an island after him. And on this weekend in the fall of 61, they unveiled the plaque. And unfortunately, he had a heart attack later that day and passed away. So
there's a picture of him, right, with the plaque. Did you send it to me, Dave?
it's in the book.
Yeah,
it's in the book.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
so later that day. That was
Yeah.
the last picture taken of Mr. Kennedy.
So the following fall, as I understand it, the fellows who had normally gone to the Keystone Lodge realized that they were missing an opportunity to keep this group of fellowship going. So I believe it was members such as George Wallace and who else, Tony?
I'd have to go look.
Al Jackson.
Al
Who
Jackson.
was Al Jackson? I saw his
He
name
was
quite a bit in the
the
minutes.
managing partner for, at the time, Thorne Rydell, which was the precursor to KPMG, the accounting firm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I think Tom Fryer might have been involved there as well.
anyway, so these fellows decided that it was a good thing to do. They all looked forward to it. So they set up, and I assume it was probably George Wallace being the lawyer. They set up a constitution and a set of bylaws, and it formally became known as the WKP Kennedy Fall Fellowship. And it's a membership-based group that pay a nominal fee to become a member, and the money raised has always gone back into the community. Now, we're not talking a lot of dollars, so historically we try to pinpoint a need in the community, someone who's fallen through the cracks of the social net. And the social net, as you know, is always changing, and people are always in need of a helping hand.
And at that time, really, as Peter said, there was no social net. So it came, those requests came through members that knew people that were in need of help, right? Mm-hmm. And it spanned the whole thing from First Nations people all the way through to primarily North Bay citizens, which was our focus. But sometimes we'd move out of that area as well. And as Peter said, there wasn't a lot of money involved, but,
But a lot of impact.
But there was a lot of impact,
Correct.
and more importantly, there were a lot of services. The real key part of the services were the dentists that were involved, and they would basically redo people's teeth so that they felt very comfortable out in society. And there was a lot of stories about that.
Yeah,
young people. Right?
Yeah, young people. Yeah.
I remember my first venture down to. And let me just say this, because I'm probably one of the newer members that have been to the Kennedy Fall Fellowship, though I felt this year I was more of a senior member. They're a lot younger than me.
You have been a recurring member.
Not
so, so if someone asked me what is it, and I was always told, in short form, what some people think it is, but it's like it's more than that. As I've gotten older and you reflect, It is fellowship. So what is fellowship? But I think it's only something that can be done in a community our size, where you could bring people from literally all walks of life. And the mayor was there, which isn't, looking back in the early, not bylaws, but minutes, it was often high-level people within the city that would go on these trips or go on this fellowship. And you have lots of laughs. You meet lots of people. We play euchre, have a little euchre tournament. It's funny, in the early days, there was one year I was reading that the euchre tournament never finished because no one was capable of finishing at the end. Go, wow!
Yeah,
Tony didn't win on that year?
Yeah, no. And it was Liar's Dice that was played.
Liar's
Dice was really key, and the lawyer, George, was quite good at that, if memory serves me right.
What is Liar's Dice?
Well, it's basically a couple of dice that are in a cup, and you shake it, and then you say, I've got a pair of fours, or you've got a flush, or a royal, I can't do a royal flush, but you would just call it on the basis of what you had under there. But you would fake it as well. And then somebody would call you out, and then you'd have to show it.
I saw Stan Lawler presented something. So there's a former mayor of the city. But going down, initially, I'd met many new people, engaged with people I hadn't seen in a long time. And my first time going down, I remember, because I didn't realize the impact, like from raising money and doing social good. And it was something so simple but so powerful. And God rest his soul, Larry Hoffman was there. And then he told the story of this young girl at Chippewa High School that had major dental issues. And so you can only imagine what that must have been for this young person going through life, didn't have the money to repair it. Larry chipped in, his services, everybody chipped in money, and I would love to know what's happened with her today, like how that's changed her life.
Yeah.
But I bet you it changed her life. And so, yes, it isn't putting a wing on the hospital, but it's doing these little things, as you said, Peter, about things that may have slipped through the cracks, but how did that change her life, and how to make a difference with a bunch of goofballs, having fun and having a good time, but still we're doing social change. So today, I think I may have said to you over, what was that drink you introduced me to?
Negroni.
Yeah. Over in Negroni. I see this as something that, yes, all those things happen, but it's also a place where people heal together, where things happen within a community and you mend fences, where you make new friends, where you gather and sort of, we're starting a new year together and let's do it right together and let's join arm in arm. And I think it's powerful.
And from that perspective, you got to recognize that there's a whole variety level of occupations involved in this thing, right? And it's kind of cool. And there's a lot of deals that happen at that. Believe it or not, there were.
What are some of the famous deals? Can you say?
Yeah, there was a couple of. Well, I'm not sure whether I should say what the deals were, but there were a couple of businesses that transferred there as a result of the relationships that were made among the individuals there, right? And they were pretty big deals, to be honest with you.
Can I say? I'll just say it. I had heard this time that's when John Hopper sold the Centennials to Ted Thomson. It was on one of those trips.
As we say at Fall Fellowship,
you heard that too?
As we say at Fall Fellowship, whatever happens there stays there.
Okay.
So I can't confirm or deny.
That's right. You're not supposed to.
No, but another interesting thing about the fellowship is you have all ages there.
Yeah.
From mid-20s.
Yeah, mid-20s.
How old were you the first time you went? Because your family's been part of it before you were born.
Oh, yeah. I can remember growing up, my father always went.
Yeah.
Every weekend, every fall that was a given, he was going.
So that was one of the questions I had. I put down here, who is D.E. Rooney?
That's my father.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Mickey.
Yeah.
What is it?
Mickey.
Mickey?
Yeah.
What was his name?
Donald.
Given name was Donald.
Donald.
But he was in the Air Force during the war.
Yeah.
And it became
Mickey
because Mickey Rooney was
famous,
right?
Yeah.
And
Captain of the Clouds.
So then when he moved to North Bay after the war, everyone just called him Mickey. So he signed Mickey for everything. No one knew it was his real name, really.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
So, but all these people from, like I said, mid-late 20s to 80s, and you get to sit and chat with these people, and it's the only time you do you're able to sit and chat with so many people, and it's once a year, and then when you run into them in town, you have a connection, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a big networking of people from different occupations, as Tony said, and different age groups and different stages of life. Yeah, it's awesome.
I would love to know from both of you why it's important, because both of you are, have legacy within the Kennedy family, a founding family, and why is it important for both of you and your family members to attend this? Because I know some of your, family members attend as well, right? So,
well, I just think it's fantastic that it's gone on so long, being such a loosely organized group of people. But we do make a difference to individuals that have fallen through the cracks. I mean, the weekend's fun. It's great. It's good times. But we also do make a difference.
I have 2 daughters, as you know, and I love the fact that it's an opportunity for me to hang out with my sons-in-laws, right, and get them to see part of the tradition of Kennedy Insurance, which is kind of key. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm fortunate as well as my son-in-law's father comes too, so it becomes like a little family affair, and one of the few opportunities we all get together to be there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, my son is in Toronto, and he's in undercover for drugs and gangs. So
most of his clients are at this?
So I don't really feel I can bring him to the... No.
But what's interesting is, and Dave's going to jump in with a question here, but I haven't gone in a number of years, and I went this year, and I said when I was down there, I said, every year I can think of 100 reasons not to go. There's so many things not to go, right? There's like, and then when I get here, I'm like, I can't think of one reason why I wouldn't go every year. It's so much fun.
Well, I was looking through the minutes, and I actually was looking through the book that WKP Kennedy put together. Interestingly, he made his deadline. He got it to the press, and he announced that the day that he passed away. But what I noticed is that a lot of the names of the people I've recognized on other service clubs, like Rotary, Kingsmen. There was people that were already involved with other clubs that were part of your fellowship.
Yep.
And while you may have been doing what we'd call small ball charity work, it may have helped them fuel themselves and center themselves for their bigger projects that they were involved with their service club. Is that true?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. When you look at the membership, I mean, as you say, the Kiwanis were there, the Kinsmen were there, the McCarrolls were there. They were part of
Terry McCarroll, yeah.
Terry, yeah. So a lot of that good things that come out of service clubs gets parlayed and talked about at these at the Kennedy Fall Fellowship.
So interesting you said that, because I had never met Terry McCarroll. So when I arrived in the city in '91, it was one of the massive fundraisers.
Yes,
the
it
Terry
was.
McCarroll
CAT scan
fund,
right?
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
and so he was like, I guess there was everybody seemed to know what that was and who Terry McCarroll was, and that was all part of the Kennedy Fall Fellowship too. Like,
and his father Orville too. So I mean, there's that connection goes back quite a bit, right?
I want to ask, as going through the minutes, there was also in 1975. It says a channel marker was put in to honor Dr. Lorne Crow. Who's Dr.
Correct.
Lorne Crow, and what's the channel?
He was a local doctor in town here, lived just across from the old St. Joe's Hospital, actually. And he was a French River cottager, too. And his island is on the backside of Keystone Lodge.
Okay.
And there's a rock there that is
Renowned.
It's been hit by many people.
and so, yeah, they did erect a marker on the rock to his honor, but also to make sure that no one hit the rock again.
And unfortunately now, the plaque is gone because the ice took it out. Oh. And I'm not sure whether it's still in the water or whether the family has recovered it. The Fry family has recovered it. So
I should look into that.
yeah, we should actually.
You're retired, for God's sake. You have to tell us. Come on.
Oh, you're welcome, by the way. I've been a client of Kennedy for a little while, and
great.
Happy to contribute to the retirement.
Well, thank you, Dave. Much appreciate it.
So one of the traditions I notice that happens every year is we actually always, or in all the times I've gone, we always go by the channel where the plaque is dedicated to Mr. Kennedy, WKP Kennedy. Question I have. Why is it on that island and not on Keystone Island?
Or Elliott Island, where WKP resided. The Elliott Island, when you go down that channel, Kennedy's on the left, Elliott's on the right. Elliott Island is where the family basically has 9 or 10 cottages.
Oh, really?
All as a result of WKP in terms of what he tried to do. And
is that where your cottage is?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I've wondered that. Why are we not on that?
Well,
yeah.
Elliott Island is actually named after my great-grandfather. WKP married one of his daughters. And so the island next to it, they had it named, were able to name it Kennedy Island after WKP Kennedy.
Okay, so I might not be saying this right, but does the Rooney name trump the Kennedy name in all of this? Was it the Rooney family that really...
I think it's better to say that the outlaw name trumps everything. Because the original start was Elliott, and then it went to Kennedy, and then from Kennedy, a lot of the progeny are females, so there's all kinds of different people in there now.
Okay, I guess that's why all the different names. And,
Yeah.
What other things did you pull out of the book, Dave, that were kind of interest you about it? Because you haven't been on the fellowship, but it was probably...
Which reminds me, make sure he gets there next year.
Okay.
Book it now.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. Peter still doesn't want to be in the same island
Let's
as him.
keep that as an idea.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I was looking through, and there was some really interesting stuff. He basically put together a compilation of North Bay's history, and there's a couple things that stood out. In 1922, and this is right before the city became a city. John Ferguson was mayor, and he declined to accept any salary as a measure of economy. And that's an interesting thing.
Isn't
in this
that
day
We should
and
bring
age.
it up to the.
To the current
Council on record disapproved? No, that's not what it says. Council on record approving the municipal franchise to all married women over the age of 21 years and who are wives of property owners.
Sorry,
So
what
they-
did you just say? What is that?
The
Right to vote.
Franchisement,
Yeah.
the right to vote.
Right to vote.
Yeah,
And
so
what
in
year is that?
1922,
1922?
the founding fathers decided, yes, they can vote. Yes, and they can vote if they're 21 and if they're wives of property owners.
Only
Yeah.
if they're wives of property owners.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I wonder how that would fly in today, that discussion. I'd love to see that city council discussion if they were thinking of not doing it.
Well, they were probably still smoking in chambers and probably had scotch.
There
and,
was.
So traditions, when
You just cut off poor
Oh, I'm
Dave.
sorry,
He was-
if you had
he was
more.
going-
Well, I had one more that was
Okay.
Yes.
kind of appropriate.
Sorry, Tony. I'm excited. You're in the
Very
room.
good chairmanship.
Thank you.
They recorded Ontario Municipal Board granted approval of a capital expenditure of $400,000 for a community building. Seating of a new arena would be $3,500, right? And this is 1954, so right before the present Memorial Gardens.
So what was the building?
It was the
Memorial
Was
Gardens.
it
Oh,
the
it was
original
Gardens?
garden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it went that far back.
From King Street to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You realize that the original arena or gardens was at the Kenrock site, if memory serves me right.
The corner
What?
where
Really?
corner where
Back in 1902-ish.
Lakeview
Yeah.
Builders
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
on the
There
corner.
was an arena there. It wasn't, and had a curling rink.
That's right.
And it burned down. And then that was before they went to King Street.
King Street.
The
Street.
Wallace.
Yeah.
Wallace Park area.
Yeah, Wallace Park. Then after Wallace Park, then the Memorial Gardens. Yeah.
I didn't know all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you realize Peter's father owned Lakeview Lumber.
Okay.
So that was a real connection. So that Kennedy family, really, when you think about it, there were a lot of roots in a lot of businesses, and it cut across swath of businesses from insurance, real estate, a trust company, travel agency, land development, building development, residential development,
Building supply.
building supplies. It was a pretty going concern back then.
Founded in 1968, Voyageur Aviation is a proud member of our community, providing worldwide aviation services from our headquarters right here in North Bay. If you're looking for a challenge, change, or want to expand your current career in aviation, Voyageur is hiring for a wide range of technical and non-technical roles, including pilots, aircraft maintenance personnel, corporate administration, machinists, supply chain professionals, and more. Be part of a workforce that is over 400 strong, supporting humanitarian, government, defense, and civil aviation operations around the world. For a career in aviation and beyond, learn more about open positions and career paths at voyav.com.
I heard a story from, and it wasn't from Jimmy Coleos. But it was about Jimmy Coleos, which I thought was really cool. And it was about the Kennedy family. And there was a Kennedy member, I'm not sure who it was, but
We know.
and he would be in an incredible suit and tie, and he would always come there for lunch, but didn't have the money. I guess there was ebbs and flows in business, right? But didn't have the money. But Jimmy never ever charged him for lunch. But he would come in for lunch, his suit and tie, in business, having a business lunch, and Jimmy would never charge him. He just wanted him to have lunch, and so I would think the Kennedy family went through ups and downs, even though there was a lot of building and stuff. It
course
was
they did.
ebbs and flows.
Ebbs and flows for sure. And,
Yeah.
and I think if you really go back in the history on that, it's because of the connection that Jimmy would have had with Lucien Delane, I should say.
Yeah, he went to the Kennedy Fellowship.
Yeah, he used to go.
So why? Sorry, what?
Well,
what's the?
Lucien and this Kennedy member were very close.
Ah, okay. There's, we always laugh and joke about Jimmy and different, because we've all had different encounters.
Yes.
We've all been charged for a bottle of wine we didn't order.
Well, I've never been charged that.
Well, you're far better than me, Tony. We still love him for it. But then he has this other side that he never shows of his incredible generosity.
Absolutely.
And humanity. And he never gets acknowledged for that piece of it.
That's too bad.
I would like to add, there's a column going in my fall edition of the Back of the Bay magazine.
Oh,
Here's
yeah?
my plug. Talking about how Jimmy helped out a guy that works for him in the kitchen, and he sent him down to Toronto to fix his teeth. And just part and parcel to help the guy out. He ended up being a 10-year employee now, and he has him living in one of the senior residents, and he takes care of that as well as works there. So Jimmy's own small ball charity goes unnoticed.
Yeah. And he's donated to many different service organizations, or I'll say food banks, and donating food and money, and never wants any recognition for it. What traditions, if any, have stayed the same? And what traditions are newer that are real interesting to watch?
I think the very first thing that changed was the Fall Fellowship used to be on the weekend. And then when the next crop of people came in, the younger crowd that had families, right, we shifted it to a Thursday, Friday, because we wanted to make sure that we were back with the kids.
Family time for the
Family
weekend.
time. So that was one major change. There were certainly changes in terms of venue, because it went from Keystone to Chaudière. We had a couple of years at Lunge Lodge, right,
back to
and then
Chaudière.
back to Chaudière. So that was
Another thing that's maybe changed is, it used to be liar's dice and poker.
And now it's euchre.
Now it's $20 euchre pots.
Yeah. I had heard that sometimes some of these poker games, they might have got a little too serious.
In the private ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The interesting thing that has changed from my perspective as well is that when we started the transition, we'd always go for a boat ride on the Friday, right? And as part of the boat ride, we'd end up at Lunge Lodge to do the jump, right, off the big
Lunge
cliff
Rock.
there, the Lunge Rock, right? That was a tradition that we actually foisted on every new member. But I didn't do it because I was deathly afraid of that, so I did not do it.
Oh, make note.
No, I'm not going to do it. But it's unbelievable how that becomes, and to sit there and watch all these guys crawl up the rock and then in unison all jump down at the same time is it's a really cool thing to see, right?
Yeah,
Thanks for the warning.
No, it's there's a fish fry every year, which is great.
And I think that's what a lot of members really look forward to, is having a good fish fry.
Yeah, it's a good fish. Usually it was raining this year, so we had it inside, but usually it's outside where you do that. It used to be, too, where you would go to some other island to do it, right? I never experienced that. It was always
that started with what was called the 5 Mile Hunt Club, which was the hunt club that Bill Bradford belonged to. And Bill Bradford and Orville McCarroll, Orville and Terry were part of that. And we used to go to that island, which is down the 5 Mile Bay, right?
Right.
Is that what that was called?
Yeah, 5 Mile Bay. Yeah.
5 Mile Bay, and we'd have the guides come and cook there. Did that for about maybe 15 years or so, and then we shifted because he no longer owned the island, and then we go all over the place, but primarily at Chaudière because it's easier for everybody.
It is easier
Yeah.
For the boat captains, too, right?
Yeah, for the boat captains too. It's much easier. And the other thing, when I look at, there used to be like here's a schedule of events, and it was the 7 a.m. fishing. And I'm like, I've never seen anybody go fishing at 7 a.m.
I did.
Oh, did you?
At the very beginning.
Yeah, because it was actually a contest, I think,
Yeah.
right? But there was 1 minute. One of the minutes I read was someone went fishing, and it was the only person who went fishing, so they won the first, biggest, and most. Congratulations to so-and-so.
You know who was a real die-hard fisher person? Was John Whipwreck. And John would come, and he would religiously want to go fishing. And he'd get up early. John is a chartered accountant, since retired, but he was adamant on doing that. I took him out a couple of times on my own, and then he ended up using guides because I wasn't obviously good enough to give him any fish. But
Well, people, you know what? It's interesting. I said that on, I think, the Friday night when we're telling stories and having lots of laughs. And I said, do you realize that people travel literally from all over the world to come to this lodge to go fishing? We have filled the lodge and there's not one person fishing here. We're all here for fishing for fellowship.
yeah,
Every year, there's always a few that go, next year I'm fishing.
yeah, exactly.
Well, it's great fishing.
And it just never materializes.
Never,
7 o'clock comes too early.
Yeah, 7 o'clock is a little bit early. It's an hour from now.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to finish my game.
Exactly.
Hour and a half after the sun rises, but okay.
It was lovely to see Ted Thomson. I'd like to ask you this, because Ted isn't as mobile as he used to be, but he showed up and he was there. Can you tell me? Ted seems to be one of those people that is so passionate and feels the importance of this weekend get together.
Absolutely, he's been one of the biggest supporters.
He's been no question about it.
Yeah,
no question about it. And the beauty of Ted being there, and I'm really pleased that he came this year because I was worried. He missed last year because of sickness, I think, if memory serves me right. And this year he had a fall right before it, and I thought, oh, he's not going to come, but he made sure he got there. But he is our oldest member.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's been the long-standing member of the Kennedy.
And it's interesting. Not only is he a big supporter, but he used to bring his father.
His father, yeah.
And now his two sons come.
Yeah,
right.
Both his sons were there. Yeah.
Both his sons are there.
So
yeah.
that's
That's
awesome.
that family thing that happens at Fall Fellowship as well. I mean, there's a lot of business people, but there's a lot of families that they get involved there.
Yeah, I was thinking, my son's 25, and maybe that's why I was asking you, how old were you when you first met?
Late 20s.
Oh, late 20s. Okay.
Yeah,
and you grew up with it.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't in town.
His father didn't want to see him.
Well, we all, the little hair we have, we kind of let our hair down.
Yes.
We have lots
little
of
bit,
laughs.
little bit.
We have lots of laughs, and so you have to pick the right age for your kids to show.
Yeah, the first time I went at the invitation of John Kennedy, my uncle. So he got me involved. Mm-hmm. So that was.
So your father didn't?
Oh, my father passed away long before.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So I was fortunate that
and Peter was working at the real estate firm, so it was a natural.
John took me under his wing and took me over and
gotcha.
Exposed me to.
Well, is there anything that you wanted to add about this as we come to a close here that you wanted to before you came in?
Yeah, there is something. About 3 years ago, we decided to formalize the donation structure because what was happening is that we always depended on members of Fall Fellowship to come up forward with ideas on who we should help in the community, but that got to be pretty difficult. So with Lloyd Burke's help, we ended up starting a donor-advised fund through the North Bay and Area Community Foundation, which was just really good for us because that's a formal place that people that are in need of individual things that are not normally supported by the social system can actually apply there. And we've had some interesting requests come through in the last, I think this has been running for about 3 years now, 3 or 4 years. The fund has got a pool of dollars there, and we augment it every year with the donation, the membership funds that we pay go there, and as well as jokes that people tell and or are asked to refrain from telling at Fall Fellowship. And so that pool builds up, and that allows us to do a donation every year. Mm-hmm. And we're thinking as we move forward, we're going to be able to do more than one donation, maybe 2 or 3 on a regular basis.
Yeah, ideally be able to build up the fund.
That's right.
So we can do more donations without going into the principal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I feel blessed that I have a chance, and I'm trying to think who invited me to go, but I can't remember that. How I got invited. I probably wasn't.
I think you would have been. No, I think you would have been.
What's Clark over there?
If memory serves me right, you were a Kiwanian at one point. Or
I might have been.
And as a result of being a Kiwanian, there were a lot of Kiwanians that were involved. Lloyd Burke, Simon Lenny, John Osborne, a whole bunch.
Maybe it was Lachlan. Yeah.
Lachlan
yeah,
was there
yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And so knowing your joke-telling expertise, they would have thought you would have felt
Though
very
I donated
comfortable.
$100 for a joke this year. I wasn't going to tell it. So I want to thank you both for coming in.
Thank you.
for
Our
continuing
pleasure.
this tradition. I know Jamie Martin has taken on the role. I see it was like he's had that role for close to 20 years.
He has.
Or that's when the minutes is like, it was like 2007 or something. He's
That's
like,
right.
Jamie Martin's going to take on the presidency. Like, he's so deadpan. He's awesome. He's like, he just takes the abuse and everything. Like, there's a few people that speak out at these events.
No kidding.
And so he's done a great job trying to herd all the cats.
It's not an easy job.
It's not an
Not
easy
an
job.
easy job, no.
It's last minute changes for everything.
I bet. I have no doubt. But it's a great tradition, and it's great to hear these stories, and I think they're important stories, and I think it's an important thing for our community that this happens every year. And I don't know if I'm going to touch the third rail here, but do you ever see women coming?
We've actually talked about that, and I don't think the same. Not that there's anything wrong with women coming.
No, but I'm sure
putting
it's a question people will ask.
They do ask. 'Cause
Yeah.
my daughter's saying, "How come we don't?"
Yeah.
Actually, what they said is, "How come we don't have our own fellowship?" Which would be interesting, right? And
That
start
would
a
be
whole new
fantastic.
chapter.
And I
right?
think they should.
And I think that would be appropriate if they wanted to do something like that. But this has been going on for a long time. I don't know how we can change the tradition
It would be interesting if they started their own fellowship.
Yep.
Right. But they go to Lunge Lodge at the same time. We're over at Chartier.
It's like the
Chartier,
old
man.
boys and girls camp of a long time
It's
ago.
like, and then
Chartier
and then nobody's looking after their kids at home.
Yeah. Chartier may want the girls to come to Chartier
yeah.
and the boys to
yeah,
lunch.
Lunge Lodge is a little rougher.
I've actually never been to lunch.
Yeah.
No?
I'm sure you do get asked that.
Yeah, I want to thank Dave and you, Scott, as well, quite frankly, because what you do in the community, your podcasts, and the ability to take local stories and highlight them in a very positive way, because these are the kinds of stories that never get out, right?
No.
Nobody hears about
So
it.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is fantastic. I look forward to watching your podcast, and I look forward to seeing a lot more. So thank you very
That's
much,
great.
both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. First class. You guys are first class. That's another Echo Essentials podcast.
I'm Dave Dale.
And I'm Scott Clark. We want to thank the Kennedy Fellowship and that we got to experience here today. Make sure you go online to northbayecho.ca. You can subscribe to the newsletter, which Dave will talk about this in the newsletter. It goes right to your inbox. And it's an easy way to find any other episodes that we have here on the Echo Network. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Hi, I'm Ben, podcast producer here at North Bay Echo, and the Echo Essentials newsletter is a great way to get all of the news and events that are happening in the North Bay area, and of course all the newest podcast episodes in one neat package. And it's very easy to sign up, and you can get subscribed in a few simple steps. So first, you're going to want to head on over to northbayecho.ca. While you're on the home page, you'll see some of the shows that we offer, but we want to keep scrolling down to this panel right here, and you can see there is a box to type in an email address for the Echo Essentials newsletter. So all you have to do is type in your email, make sure to check the box below. And what this will allow us to do is to send you the newsletter to your email. And of course, your info, as always, is protected by your privacy policy. Hit sign me up and you are good to go. You are officially a subscriber of the Echo Essentials newsletter. If you do want to check out our past newsletters as well, you can hit the past newsletter option to go right there, or you can just hit the newsletter tab at the top of the page. And now you can see all of the past newsletters that have been published. And there you have it. Super easy and simple. And now every Tuesday and Thursday, you will get Echo Essentials right to your inbox.